It's not like the Bucks haven't tried. In fact, they've done everything they possibly could to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee over the years. From a front office standpoint, they went all in twice. The first time came after Giannis won back-to-back MVPs, but still hadn't made it to the NBA Finals. With whispers of a potential departure growing louder, Milwaukee acted. They traded away 5 first-round picks and several solid players to acquire Jrue Holiday. That gamble paid off. They won a championship in 2021. At the time, it seemed like Giannis might spend his entire career in a Bucks jersey. But success didn't last. The following year, the Bucks lost in the second round to Boston. Then came the Real warning sign, a shocking first-round elimination by the Miami Heat. Once again, the front office scrambled to keep their franchise player happy. So they went big again. This time, they sent Jrue Holiday and 3 more first-round picks to get Damian Lillard. The idea was simple. Pair Giannis with a dynamic scoring guard, create one of the most feared duos in the league, and make another run at the title. Instead, they were bounced in the first round again. Now the front office is trapped. They've already traded away almost all their future draft capital. They don't have young prospects or valuable contracts to flip. Even the idea of swapping an injured Dame Lillard for another star is unrealistic. Who's going to trade for an aging, injury-prone guard on a massive contract? That's the reality the Bucks face right now. Their margin for error is gone. Their war chest is empty. And the one more move solution? It doesn't exist anymore. This is the first time since Giannis became a superstar that the Bucks have no path forward. In previous years, they could retool. They could swing another trade or bring in help. But today, there's no cavalry coming. And Giannis knows that. He's not going to waste his prime years on a team that can't compete for a title. Especially not after seeing how fast things can fall apart for stars who stay loyal too long. Just ask Damian Lillard. The pressure now isn't just on the Bucks, it's on Giannis, too. If he decides to leave, this move has to work. He can't afford to end up like Dame, whose exit from Portland backfired, or like Kevin Durant, who still hasn't found a stable landing spot after leaving Golden State. This next step will define Giannis' legacy. And that's exactly why he's being careful. He's laying the groundwork for a move, not just anywhere but somewhere that makes sense for him. Because the Bucks are out of options and Giannis is almost out of time. So now that the writing's on the wall in Milwaukee, the big question becomes, where will Giannis go? Or, more importantly, where can he go? This isn't just about personal preference, it's about fit, assets, and legacy. Giannis knows this next move could define his entire career. If he's leaving the only franchise he's ever played for, if he's walking away from a loyal fan base and everything he helped build, it has to be for a real shot at a championship. But that's where it gets complicated. The Bucks still hold some leverage. Giannis is under contract for 2 more years. They don't have to send him where he wants. They'll take the best offer available, period. And here's the thing. Milwaukee needs win-now players in return. They don't control their future draft picks, so it makes no sense for them to tank. If they bottom out, their lottery pick goes to someone else. That means a rebuilding trade package filled with raw prospects and distant picks? Not an option. So, who's in the mix? Let's start with 2 teams that stand out above the rest, the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs. Both teams have the most valuable thing Milwaukee needs, draft picks from other teams. Houston, for instance, owns picks from the Brooklyn Nets and Phoenix Suns, thanks to previous trades. Those are incredibly useful because with Giannis on board, Houston's own picks won't be high anymore. But picks from struggling teams like the Nets? That's gold. San Antonio is in a similar position. They control the Hawks' near-future picks, along with swaps from Boston, Dallas, and Sacramento. That gives them massive flexibility to build an offer the Bucks would actually consider. And when you add in Victor Wembanyama, the idea of pairing the most physically dominant player in the NBA with the most promising young talent we've seen in years is terrifying. Then there's the Golden State Warriors, and this is where things get really interesting. Giannis has openly admired Steph Curry. And from a basketball perspective, the fit is perfect. Steph spreads the floor, Klay Thompson, if re-signed, adds shooting, and Draymond brings toughness. The only issue is money. To make it work financially, the Warriors would likely have to part ways with either Draymond Green or even trade for someone like Jimmy Butler through a 3-team deal. Painful? Yes. But to land Giannis? Probably worth it. And here's the key wild card. The Pelicans. They might hold the ultimate bargaining chip, the Bucks' own future picks. That gives New Orleans massive leverage in a potential 3-team deal. If the Pelicans give Milwaukee their own picks back, it would allow the Bucks to rebuild on their terms. Combine that with players like Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram, and New Orleans suddenly becomes a legitimate landing spot. Other teams, like the Cavaliers, Thunder, and Knicks, are also in the conversation. The Cavs have a roster full of all-star talent, but can't seem to make it past the second round. Giannis could be the final piece. The Thunder have one of the deepest treasure chests of picks in the league and rising stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the Knicks? Well, they're the Knicks. Big market, aggressive front office, and always lurking for the next superstar. But here's what makes all this so complex. Giannis has to want it. The trade might be good on paper, but if he's not willing to sign long-term or commit to the team, it falls apart. And that's why every front office thinking about making a move for him is asking the same question right now. Can we win with Giannis? And will he stay? After all the speculation, rumors, and trade machine madness, the final question remains. Where does Giannis want to go? Because no matter what packages the Bucks receive, Giannis's preferences will shape everything. Any team trading for him will want long-term commitment. No one's giving up multiple picks and win-now players for a short-term rental, even if it's for one of the most dominant forces the NBA has ever seen. So, what kind of roster actually fits Giannis? Let's start with what doesn't. A team like Houston, despite all its assets, just doesn't make sense. Yes, they have picks. Yes, they finished second in the West. But Giannis needs a team that stretches the floor with elite three-point shooting, and the Rockets are among the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. That alone might be a deal breaker. Acquiring shooters isn't easy. Every team wants 3 and D players. They're not just lying around in free agency. So while Houston looks great on paper, Giannis is probably looking elsewhere. One team that checks every box? The Golden State Warriors. They've got experience. They've got Steph, one of the greatest shooters of all time, and someone who commands double teams 35 feet from the basket. Imagine the spacing Giannis would have playing next to Steph and Klay. That's a nightmare for opposing defenses. Plus, they've got the front office willingness to make a blockbuster happen. It's a win-now culture, and Giannis would walk into a championship-ready system. Then there's the San Antonio Spurs. Giannis and Victor Wembanyama on the same team? That's a generational frontcourt. Length, defense, rim protection, and unguardable mismatches. What makes it even more appealing is that Wemby can shoot. He's not clogging the paint. That gives Giannis the room he needs to do what he does best: attack, dominate, and destroy teams in the paint. The Cleveland Cavaliers also make sense. They have a strong core of all-star players: Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. That team has been knocking on the door for years, but just can't break through. Giannis could be the missing piece. And unlike a rebuild, this would be a plug-and-play situation. No waiting for young talent to develop, no learning curve. Just championship expectations from day one. Other options include the Oklahoma City Thunder, with an elite mix of youth and assets, and the New York Knicks, who offer market appeal and a gritty, defense-first system that Giannis might admire. But the Knicks would need a strong offer both in picks and ready-to-win players, which complicates things. And of course, people will always bring up the Miami Heat. But unless Pat Riley pulls off something miraculous, the Heat don't really have the pieces. Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo are solid, but they're not likely to move the needle for Milwaukee. If the Heat trade away their key pieces, what kind of roster would even be left for Giannis? So, what happens next? Here's the reality. Giannis may not publicly demand a trade. Not yet. He might stay quiet, let the front office explore offers, and keep his image clean. But the signs are already there. He's distancing himself. He's testing the waters. And behind the scenes, he's likely preparing for the move that will reshape his career, and maybe the entire NBA. Because when Giannis finally decides to leave, he's not just changing teams. He's changing the balance of power in the league.